Hey guys, I'm Sujay. I'm from Composio. How many of you have heard of Composio? A show of hands. Awesome. Especially because this is a gathering of folks who are GTM enthusiasts, and a lot of our work is all about stitching together data from various different silos, gathering a single context, and then running tasks on top of it. Right? That's broadly the skeleton of a lot of what we do. And at Composio, we basically provide you agent integrations. I mean, you can check us out. There's like we support 1,000+ APIs. And not just integrations, when you start building agentic integrations, you realize there's a whole lot of harness engineering that you need to do. Everything from tool search, from spinning up remote containers for handling very big data payloads between big tool calls, etc., etc. You can either build it all afresh yourself, or you can just use us out of the box. Very quick fun demo. We just have a simple playground for you. You can send any command like fetch my last email, and you can just see how much goes into making any tool call happen. So this is what we do 24/7 for whatever products you are using or building. Please don't waste time on writing integrations. You can just use us. And if you're doing GTM integration, please check out Deepline. I'm a huge fan. I basically stopped using Clay, and then just all I use is Deepline. Anyway, now coming to what I would love to talk about. So we are 1.5-year-old company. We have had our own journey. We massively product-led, growth-led company, and then as a result, we get a lot of inbound leads, and many of them are enterprises who have certain requirements, who need to get into contracts. And what a lot of the time of our sales reps ends up being all about playing volleyball with the customer or the prospect on these contracts, right? MSA, BAA, DPA, TOM, etc., SAC, whatever. If you are on the pre-sales side of life, all of those words sound like music to you. So what we ended up doing is basically create this internal agent called Harvey. Harvey's cross because Harvey is a taken trademark, etc. But so that's WIP. But broadly what it is some kind of a legal context graph for all of our legal negotiations that we do with a lot of our customers. So at the back end, it's we pull in all the deal negotiation data, the sequences, what email handoffs happen, etc., from our CRM into some kind of a central data warehouse. That informs a lot of it. So we have a lot of precedents that, okay, in these kind of deals for these kind of ACVs, these are the terms that we agreed with. If this was a financial services customer, this is what we did, etc., etc. So a lot of that ended up saving huge amount of time for us. Generally, what the workflow would look like is a rep would start negotiation with the customer. They would take their own time, send a certain document, and then we would send it to some kind of a legal counsel. What we realized is a lot of these workflows or comments end up being very repeated across specific personas of customers, and that pattern emerged only after we were able to run analytics on combined data warehouse across all of these deals. We coded a lot of this in form of a set of precedents, frameworks, etc., that the agent in real time can refer to just aid the rep to handle most of these red lines, and then so that they are able to take care of like 70-80% of the feedback themselves and escalate the truly tricky ones to the legal counsel. In the process, just fast tracking the whole thing. Here's a rough estimate of how the numbers have changed for us in terms of deal cycles. Quick shout out to whichever VCs came up with the term context graph. I could not find a better term to describe the whole thing. That's what it is fundamentally, just keeping track of all the past precedents. I mean, then if you would ask technically what this boils down to, currently because of our scale, we are still pretty happy with the performance that we are getting just on top of JSON-based manifest. So none of the fancy GraphDBs or vector search, etc., etc. I mean, the whole beauty of the thing is in how deterministic can you make it. And so there's some work went into coming up with a schema of how do you want to score the authenticity of the reference material. Because if you're working out of a warehouse, it tends to get very polluted very quickly. And so at the time of a future call, you want to let the agent know what source is truly authentic and what source they should not value that much in coming up with a feedback. So that's the broad contour of the product. All of these things are literally behind NDAs, so I try to set up a different Slack instance to just give you a demo of what this looks like. So for example, we just run so we run this, and then there's a bunch of presets. Yeah, yes, God bless demo gods. But so there's a bunch of presets which are the actual repeated workflows that you end up doing. What's the workflow like? The negotiation started. Firstly, you get some paper from the customer. You want to analyze it against your past precedents. You want to make the edits yourself in track changes mode, and then send it back, lock it, send it back, and then you keep doing this for a few rounds. So what this does on the back end, it uses a lot of Composio for carrying out these iterations on Google Drive, Google Docs. So for example, once you get the document, the Harvey agent would basically use Google Docs APIs to come up with comments. Okay, this is an example of what a document would look like when it comes to you. The customer adds certain bits, they leave certain comments, etc. And then the agent takes a pass at it, just running it across the engine, deciding what are the red lines that we can accept, where should we push back, what are the precedents, what are the reasons, citations, etc. And then I, as a user, can actually, in a track changes mode, make those changes and just lock it from here, like process my edits, and it will produce the final document that I can share with the customer and just ship it to them. Right. So this is the current workflow. It actually ended up saving us a bunch of time. Some future work would involve just connecting it to our contract lifecycle management software, which is something that we have started using for tracking these contracts and all these terms that we agree to across these sundry contracts. And also playing around with various search algorithms. Somebody was mentioning the usage of hybrid search. So trying out a bunch of other algorithms. And yeah, this is broadly it. We'd love to open it for questions if you guys have any.
Perfect. Any questions for Sujay?
That's a good talk. So, because these are add-ons, right? So, are you going to select as a service, add-on service for GTM, for Composio? So, I'm a Composio customer, right?
Yeah.
And I want to do some GTM work. Instead of me developing an agent, I will use you, and will you charge me extra for it?
That's a pretty good point. As a company, we have a very generous free tier, so you can actually go very far without ever getting on a call with us. Right? It's a completely self-serve product. So only when you hit very large volume of tool calls, or if you want to get into certain contracts, that's when you would get into some kind of a payment chat with us.
Perfect. Anyone else questions? What was the hardest part here? What broke?
I think the hardest part is, I think Scott touched upon it a bit. It's a labor of love, to just get it to a state that actually works. Because every new output that you get out of the agent, you see that there's an error. You provide feedback. You try to fine tune the whole rule set. I think that takes some time. I think somebody was mentioning, how do you do this when you're bootstrapping your context? I think it was that made our life very easy because we had a rich set of precedents already, where real humans, real legal counsels had gone through days of negotiation. There was very rich first-party data on what is admissible for us, what is not admissible for us, etc. But yeah, the hardest part is basically making sure that the agent does not get off the guardrails and is really disciplined in the sources that it is using for analysis.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for bearing with us here. So I'm going to do a quick demo of Deepline, show you what we've been working